Good morning. Our last story for the week is called The Loneliest Island. Now, we've moved from author's purpose to making predictions. Making predictions involves a skill called inference, which means we're collecting clues in the story using our own personal knowledge to make the best possible guess about what might happen in a story. So, this is called The Loneliest Island. In the middle of the frigid South Atlantic Ocean, one island stands alone. It lies near Antarctica, but it is far enough away that early explorers had difficulty finding it. And about 4 miles long, the island is covered in glaciers. It is home to an inactive volcano and huge amounts of ice. The steep cliffs that surround the island make sea landings almost impossible. This is Bouvet Island, the loneliest island in the world. A French explorer discovered Bouvet Island in 1739, but the island was so difficult to approach that nobody set foot on it for nearly 100 years. No people live on Bouvet Island, and little vegetation grows there. Seals come and go, but they haven't seen humans since seal hunting and whaling stopped in the area. The island is cold year-round with an average temperature of about 29 degrees Fahrenheit. In recent years, Bouvet Island has had a little more contact with the world. Norway, which claimed the island in 1928, set up an unmanned weather station there in 1977. Today, this quiet island near the South Pole sends weather data to a satellite, which transmits the information to researchers in Norway. Scientists learn more every day about the island and its surroundings. Meanwhile, Bouvet Island stands strong and silent in the harsh climate. All right, our questions. Number one, what could you correctly predict from the title? Now, titles are a great way to get us some information about what we're about to read. And The Loneliest Island tells us just that. It's about an island that is lonely. But that seems strange because islands don't have feelings. So maybe you have some questions about, well, what does that exactly mean? And as we read the passage, we understand that it's an island that's by itself away from so many other things. So, what does a lonely island tell you? The island is very small, that no one lives on the island. The passage is about Antarctica, or only lonely people live on the island. That's a tough one because they don't really even talk about any of the four of those. But no one does live on that island. That's the one that kind of pops out the most, and that's the correct answer. The island is small, but size doesn't really have anything to do with loneliness. You wouldn't know anything about Antarctica because it just says the lonely island. It doesn't talk about cold or location, and only lonely people live on the island. You might be able to guess that from the title, but they don't talk about people at all. They don't say the lonely people of the island. They say the lonely island, which is why B is the best answer. Number two, what could you correctly predict about Bouvet Island after reading the first sentence? So let's go back to the first sentence. In the middle of the frigid South Atlantic Ocean, one island stands alone. So just from that sentence, what could you predict? It is cold most of the year. It is volcanic. Norway claimed it. Or it is near the North Pole. Well, we know it's not near the North Pole, it's near the South Pole, and there's no way that sentence predicts that, because it also says South Atlantic, which wouldn't be anywhere near the North Pole. It doesn't talk about Norway at all. The first sentence doesn't mention volcanic activity, but it does say the frigid South Atlantic, and frigid is a synonym for cold, so A is your answer. Number three. What can you conclude after reading that steep cliffs surround the island? That A, the island is covered in glaciers, B, explorers cannot find the island, C, there is nowhere to land a boat at the island, or D, the island is near the South Pole. Well, think about steep cliffs. And they don't talk about the cliffs being made of ice, so it wouldn't be glaciers. Having steep cliffs doesn't mean you couldn't see the island, it means it's hard to get onto the island. The island is near the South Pole. Well, having steep cliffs has nothing to do with that. So it would be C, there is nowhere to land. Steep cliffs make it hard for a boat to attach anywhere to the island for someone to explore it. And so that's why nobody has ever really lived there, and they only keep a weather station there now. 4, after scientists receive data from the weather station, they will most likely what? What will they do with that information? Try to determine the island's location? No, they already know where it's at because they have a station there. Study weather patterns on the island? That's a possibility. C, track the movements of seals? Well, if it's a weather station, they're not going to track animals. Or D, send the information to a satellite. Well, these two are going to be the tough ones. And you got to think about what they're going to do with it. the scientists are not going to take the information from the station and send it to a satellite. They're getting it from a satellite already. So while D might seem like the correct answer, the scientists aren't actually doing that. It's doing it on its own. It is B. They're going to study what the weather is like on this island that no one lives at. So write 2 questions you would like to ask an explorer of Bouvet Island. Think about someone who may have gone there into an island that no one's ever lived on and few people have ever touched. What questions would you ask that person about their exploration of this unmanned island? Think about that 2 questions, and that's all.